Hello, it's Mr. Merlo for lesson 11-9, solving radical equations. Alright, so kind of going back to last year's math, we are literally solving for x, except now there's going to have radicals in the problem. So we are doing the opposite again, so if it says like plus 4, we're subtracting 4, minus 7, we're adding 7, divided by x, we're timesing by x, times 4, we're dividing by 4, so still doing those opposites. Except now we're adding radicals. Remember, the opposite of a radical or square root is a square, so you might have to square some sides as well. So some of them are like this. The square root of x equals 5, so we would square both sides and figure out that x is really going to be 25. Not all of them are going to be that simple. This one says 10 equals the square root of 2 times x, so we square root that 2 times x to get it to go away. And if we do it to one side, we have to do it to the other side. So then we're left with 100 equals 2x. It's 2 times x, so we're going to divide both sides by 2. So x will be 50. Let's go to one that's a little more complicated. So one like this. Notice how the 4 is not under the square root. So we're going to need to get everything off of the left side in this case. To the right side. So it says minus 4, we're going to add 4, and then we can square both sides to get rid of the square root. So sometime during the problem today, you're going to need to square both sides. And when that's going to happen is when everything except for the square root is by itself. So you might need to do some things there. This time the square root's already by itself. It already says x plus 3 equals 7, so I can square both sides. So when I square both sides on the left side of the equal sign, it eliminates the square root sign, so it's just x plus 3. Instead of saying equals 7 now, it's 7 squared, so it's going to be 49. Since it says x plus 3, I'm going to subtract 3, so I'm going to be at 46. Here's one that has both. So my 5x plus 1 is under the square root sign, but the plus 6 is not, so I need to get rid of that plus 6 before I can do anything else. So I would minus 6, and then 10 minus 6 is 4, and then I could square both sides. So 4 squared is 16. And then 5x plus 1 minus 1, I'm at 15. Divide both sides by 5. My x is going to end up equaling 3. Alright, let's look at some more complicated ones here. So one like this. So it says 4 times radical x equals 32. Since it says times, I need to divide first. So then I'm left with square root of x equals 8. Square both sides to get rid of the square root sign on the left side. And then 8 squared is going to be 64. Problem like this, it says square root of x divided by 2 equals 6. It says divided by 2, so I'm going to end up multiplying by 2, so I have 12 equals the square root of x. And then, since it says 12 equals the square root of x, I'm going to square both sides to get rid of that square root sign. And then 12 squared is 144. Here's one that has both the two square root signs rather. So I have square root of 5x minus 4 minus square root of x, or square root of 6 equals 0. So I'm going to get them on both sides so that when I square them, they're going to end up going away. So that's what you see here in this third step. So I'm just left with 5x minus 4 equals 6. And then add 4 to both sides, so you have 5x equals 10. Divide both sides by 5. And x would equal 2 then. Same thing here, you have square roots on both sides. So you square both sides basically, then it's just a two-step equation. Variables are on both sides, so 3x plus 2 equals x plus 6. Subtract x. Subtract 2, so you're left with 2x equals 4. Some problems are going to have you FOIL back out, like this one. So I have x equals the square root of 2x plus 3. So once I square both sides, that x is going to give me an x squared. So I'm still left with an x squared. So once I get all my variables and numbers on one side, I'm left with x squared minus 2x minus 3 equals 0. and then I can factor that back out. So I'm left with x minus 3 equals 0, or x plus 1 equals 0. So my two answers for x there would be 3 and negative 1. Because remember, I'm trying to solve for x here. Kind of the same thing on this one here. So x equals square root of negative 3x minus 2. So square both sides. Get everything on the same side here. So x squared plus 3x plus 2. Factored out, so x plus 1. And then x plus 2. And then my x's would then be negative 1 or negative 2. So some of these first problems are more review. And then some of these problems at the end are going to end up being more intense with remembering how to FOIL and things like that. And again, there's more perimeter and area problems which we will do in class, since they're a little more difficult to explain over video.